Good morning, Nottingham. If I could ask you to take your seats, if you're still checking in, just keep the volume down for us, please, so we can begin the first session of our annual Nottingham Business Meeting, which is now officially in order. I'm Dawn Fernald. I'm your town moderator. I'd like to ask you all to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before you take your seats, please take a moment to say hello or introduce yourselves to the people around you. These are your neighbors. Good morning. I ask that as we conduct our business today, you remember the faces around you. These are your neighbors. This is our community. And please keep that in mind as we speak. I will start with some introductions. Serving with me today as my assistant moderators are Bonnie Winona McKinnon and Peter Warzenek. How'd I do on that? Good. All right. Supervisors of the checklist are here with us. We have Deanne Decker, Terry Yankis. Our ballot clerks today are Carol Martin, Maureen O'Connor. Up here with me taking our minutes is our town clerk, Lori Anderson. Legal counsel today is Autumn Kish of Drummond and Woodsum. With us to present the warrant articles and help answer our questions are our town administrator, Ellen White, Board of Select Person Chair Tim Dabrio, Vice Chair Matt Sherland, Select Person Charlotte Fife, Steve Welch, and John Decker. We have our Budget Committee Chair, Owen Fran Gray, and our Vice Chair, Donna Danis, maybe somewhere. Oh, you're hiding. Hello. I would like to take a moment to acknowledge Board of Select Person Chair Tim Dabrio, Board of Select Member Steve Welch, and Budget Committee Chair Owen Fran Gray for their years of dedicated service to our town. It is not easy to put yourselves out there and be charged with making difficult decisions that will ultimately impact your neighbors, friends, and your families. The commitment and personal sacrifice does not go unnoticed. Thank you all. Also joining us in the front row are Budget Committee members Jeff Morrison, Robert Kelly, Carol Martin, Jillian Eldridge, Karen Quinn, James Stevens, and Lincoln Lavoy. Our department heads here today, Town Administrator again, Ellen White, Police Chief Fawn Woodman, Fire Chief Matt Curry, Department of Public Works Director Steve Rollins, Park and Recreation Director Courtney Duvall, Assistant Parks and Rec Director Bridget Hart. Some of the folks that I have just introduced, while not registered voters in the town of Nottingham, are integral to the formal presentations of our warrants and our business today. I am therefore granting them permission to speak at this meeting. They are Ellen White, Autumn Kish, Steve Rollins, Courtney DeBall, Bridget Hart, and Neil Santos. I don't know if you were here and will be speaking for PLIA, but I have you on my list. In addition to all of our elected officials and department heads, we have many town employees, including the majority of our police and fire departments, most of whom are also residents of this town here with us today. Please join me in thanking all of our elected officials and town employees for all of their hard work throughout the year and for being here to support their departments and our community.
Well, she's got a point. You should be thanking him. I mean, how do you feel if you'd have to be out there all the time and nobody said it, appreciated?
We are gathered here today as the legislative body of Nottingham, New Hampshire, to conduct the first session of our annual town meeting. We, as the registered voters of Nottingham, make up the legislative body. In this session, we are charged with explaining, discussing, and potentially amending, as allowed by law, Articles 9 through 25 of the 2026 town warrant as posted by the town of Nottingham, New Hampshire. We are not here to vote on the articles themselves. That will happen at the second session of this meeting. Town elections to be held here at the Nottingham Community Center, located at 139 Stage Road in Nottingham on Tuesday, March 10th, 2026, to vote on all warrant articles. The polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Articles 1 and zoning articles 2, 3 through 8 may not be amended and will be printed on the ballot exactly as written. The legislative body's opportunity to discuss, debate, and amend zoning articles is at the planning board's public hearing, which was conducted earlier, so we will not be discussing those articles today. Now for a brief explanation of how the remaining articles are created. Over the past several months, our town department heads and election officials have worked with the Board of Select Persons to put together a budget that anticipates the needs for the next fiscal year. The Board of Selectmen and department heads then work with our budget committee to refine all cost items. The majority of those budget needs are put into the operating budget, which is Article 9 today. Some larger one-time expenditures may have been written as a separate warrant article. Today, those are Articles 10 through 24. Citizens may also draft warrant articles, assuming they obtain the 25 signatures of registered voters and submit it by the appropriate date. We have one such article today, Article 25. The Budget Committee then holds a public hearing. Once feedback is received from the public, the Board of Selectmen and Budget Committee each vote to recommend or not recommend any items with an appropriation of town funds. You will see those recommendations below each article. The warrant is then posted as you all are viewing it today. I will read each article aloud, then ask the assigned speaker presenter to give a brief explanation of the article's purpose, tax impact, etc. Then I will open the floor for discussion and any amendments to the article. All warrants can be amended except those whose wording is prescribed by law and with some limitations. I will point these restrictions out as we move along. While we can change the purpose or the appropriation amount of a warrant article, we cannot change the subject matter of any warrants. To amend an article, please step up to the microphone, state your name and address before making your amendment. All complex, aka wordy amendments should be written down and handed to me, the moderator, including any new dollar amounts. Assuming there is a second to move the amendment, the floor will be open for discussion and respectful debate of the amendment. Then I will call for a vote on the amendment. If the yeas have it, this means that you have changed how the warrant article will appear on the ballot on town election day, the second session of this business meeting. Per the Department of Revenue Administration, we cannot change the subject matter of any warrant article. This means we cannot name agents to expend capital reserve funds or town-funded trust funds when the article as posted in the warrant did not name agents. Changing an article from appropriating money for a capital reserve or trust fund to now expending the money in the current fiscal year. In other words, we cannot amend buying a police cruiser instead of putting funds in the police cruiser capital reserve fund or vice versa. Designating an appropriation article as non-lapsing when the article as posted did not. Since we are a town with a municipal budget committee, our amendments are also subject to the 10% rule. This means that at this meeting, we cannot appropriate a total amount which exceeds the total recommended budget by the budget committee of more than 10%. Again, the town's lawyer is here to help with legal guidance on all those exceptions and limitations. I'm going to go through the moderator's rules. RSA 47, no person shall speak during any meeting without leave of the moderator, nor when any person is speaking is in order, and all persons shall be silent at the desire of the moderator. You hear that? You have been called to order. The moderator will take the articles in the order that they appear on the warrant unless the moderator announces the intent to take the articles out of order, which will require the approval from the legislative body. all registered voters whose legal domicile is in Nottingham. You're the legislative body. Presenters of warrant articles will have now 10-minute time limit unless prior arrangements have been made with the moderator. The moderator shall give permission to speak to non-resident department heads, legal counsel, and any other persons with information pertinent to the warrants at her discretion. A presenter may make additional comments on the article after all other speakers have spoken or when the moderator directs a question comment from the legislative body to them. Speakers from the legislative body must show their voting card. You all should have one. If you don't, please go see our ballot clerks. It means you're not checked in. You must show your voting card, state your name and street address clearly every time you step up to the microphone. Miss Lori here is looking down, so she doesn't always know, even if you're someone who spoke before. So please, for the record, make sure you do that. Speakers will have a 3-minute time limit. All questions, comments are directed to the moderator. The moderator decides which official admin replies when warranted. You'll be given a 30-second wrap-up warning by Pete over here. A reasonable amount of relevant and non-repetitive debate will be allowed from the legislative body. All registered voters who wish to address the article will speak before anyone speaks twice. No uncivil behavior will be tolerated, including but not limited to disrespectful language, false accusations, or personal attacks. RSA 49, if any person shall behave in a disorderly manner and after notice from the moderator persist in such behavior or shall in any way disturb the meeting or willfully violate any rule of proceeding, the moderator may command any constable or police office or any legal voter of the town to remove such a disorderly person from the meeting and detain such person until the business is finished. Elected officials, election officials, including the moderator, are also citizens with the same voting rights and privileges granted to each citizen. However, when expressing personal opinions, they must separate themselves from that office by stepping to the floor and speaking from the microphones designated for the public. Any amendment to a warrant must be submitted to the moderator in writing. The moderator will not accept negative motions. Negative motions are ones that require a no vote to vote in the affirmative, such as I move that we not amend the budget. Not allowed. There must be a motion and a second on the floor for each amendment. Only one amendment on the floor at a time. The moderator will try to ensure that the contents of all motions and amendments are fully understood. Please do not hesitate to ask if you don't understand what you're voting for. Voting again will be done by voter cards, except where required by statute or by proper requests. You must be seated for the ballot clerks to count your vote. RSA 44A, voters may request a yes/no secret ballot. Prior to any vote, the moderator must receive the signatures of 5 present registered voters to request a secret ballot on a motion. RSA 44B, voters may also request a secret ballot after a vote done by voter card. Immediately after the division vote on a given motion, 7 present registered voters may stand and request a yes/no vote revote by secret ballot. All votes are subject to reconsideration during the meeting unless a motion to invoke 40:10 is voted in the affirmative regarding that article. A motion to invoke 40:10 may be done anytime after an article has been moved. However, the moderator will not recognize the motion if she or he feels the voters have not yet had adequate opportunity to discuss an issue. Results of all votes will be announced by the moderator. Persons wishing to film or photograph the meeting shall do so from the back of the room or other designated area by the moderator so as not to serve as a disruption or a distraction. You're ready for the articles. I am gonna. believe I just received the list last night, so I will actually read who's running for this. Article 1. Yes.
I lost my voter card already. I'm quick. So if anybody has number 45 that they picked up along the way, I
Everyone
would
take
like
a
it back.
peek around you at your voter cards to see if you have number 45. Watch, what do you bet it's me? No? Yeah, no kidding. No luck.
Can I be authorized to get a replacement?
Yes, hold on. Please hold. Save me from one of those moments. Thank you. Article 1, to choose by ballot all necessary town officers for the ensuing year. Board of Selectmen, 2 for 3 years, John Moran, Adam Ryan. We've had Ben Bartlett. We've had one more. This was printed before 5 p.m. Is that my only addition? Okay. Budget Committee, 3 for 3 years, Katie DeAngelis, Robert Kelly, Megan Merrick, and Peter Warsnick. Cemetery Trustees, 1 for 3 years, Michael Bascom. Library Trustees, 2 for 3 years, Jennifer Phillips and Debbie Ricker. Town Moderator, 1 for 2 years, Dawn Fernald. Planning Board, 2 for 3 years.
Jennifer Phillips, 17 Rockinville Road, and that is incorrect. It's Kate for Clegg.
Oh, yes. We're not voting on you anyway today.
Yeah, but I mean, this is official and not Jen Phillips.
Oh. Okay, gotcha. Planning Board, 2 for 3 years. Did we get some? Okay. They stayed open till 5 last night, so. Supervisors of the checklist, 1 for 6 years, Deanne Decker, 1 for 2 years, Terry Yankus. Tax collector, 1 for 3 years, spot is available, just saying. Treasurer, 1 for 3 years, Susan Bascom. Trustee of the trust funds, 1 for 3 years, Michael Keister. Zoning Board of Adjustment, 2 for 3 years, Terry Bonzer, Dirk Rotenheis, Stephen Wallace, Bonnie Winona McKinnon. School Board, 2 for 3 years, Paul Aaron Darchek, Mackenzie Nicholson. School District Moderator. Oh, one more.
Allison Joe Doing.
Allison Joe Doing. School District Moderator, 1 for 3 years, Dawn Fernald. School District Treasurer, 1 for 3 years, Susan Bascom. Also like to acknowledge Bonnie Winona McKinnon, who held this job for many years before me, and the school moderator for a long time, who has now had her fill. Articles 2 through 8 are zoning articles and cannot be amended today and will therefore appear on the ballot as written. Hearing no objection, I am just going to skip over reading those. Article 9, shall the town raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately, the amount set forth on the budget posted with the warrant or as amended by vote of the first session, for the purposes set forth therein, totaling $5,445,698. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $5,230,495, which is the same as last year, with certain adjustments required by previous action of the town or by law. Or the governing body may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 40:13 X and XVI to take up the issue of a revised operating budget. The select board recommends this appropriation 500. The budget committee recommends this appropriation 1010. The estimated tax impact is $1.74 per 1,000 of property valuation. The estimated tax impact if article fails, default budget is $1.59 per 1,000 of property valuation. Brent, would you mind taking a seat till after presentations of the budget and opening public comment?
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Do we want to we do have a amendment that is procedural more than anything. This article should include the sentence majority vote required. I take a motion to add that to the article.
Make a motion to add majority vote required to Article 9.
So a motion on the floor to amend Article 9, seconded by made by Tim DeBrio, seconded by John Decker, to add the sentence majority vote required. Assuming no oppose, article is amended. At this time, I will turn the floor over to Budget Committee Chair Owen Friend Gray to present the budget.
Thank you, Don. So I'd like to just go over sort of the major talking points, major items we reviewed this year, going through the budget. Some of the primary complications that we were trying to work within. There is a pretty substantial increase to the election fees this year in the budget. That's from last year's elections being 1 being held versus this year where 3 will be held. There were some pretty substantial increases to health insurance premiums, anywhere from 9 to 16%, depending on the plan being used. And then also some pretty hefty increases to the town's insurance premiums held by Primex. That was 16%. So the budget committee worked with the different departments and the town administrator and the board of selectmen and tried to address what we felt were the primary needs within this budget cycle. And those include adding 1 full-time fire chief position to the complement, adding 1 full-time firefighter position to the complement, reallocating the remainder of the rec assistant director's salary from the revolving fund into the operating budget. Road paving is going to continue as a warrant article, and the police station relocation preliminary design. Those were all what we thought were some of the most critical components that this current budget addresses. A few different departmental highlights that go along with that. So the fire department increased approximately 24%. This is primarily driven by the 2 new positions being added. Police department, highway departments were essentially level funded, with the contractual needs and pay increases being addressed, which come from more the personnel administration. And again, that's addressing the increased health insurances while still leaving the ability for merit-based salary increases as we've held in previous budgets. So a quick summary of the 2026 budget. As noted in the reading of warrant article 9, the town's proposed operating budget coming from the budget committee is 5.445 million this year, with proposed warrants of 640,000 recommended by the budget committee. Because of the offsetting revenues of just under 3 million, the total proposed budget for tax impact purposes is $3,091,965, which represents a 2.41% increase over the recommendations or over the budget from last year. So I'd like to remind everybody, just sort of so we can all have a better understanding of what the dollars and cents per 1,000 property valuation means. It's shown on all your warrants as estimated tax impact. And that is calculated for independent impact onto different property owners of the assessed value of your home times that impact divided by 1,000 of the property valuation. So an example of that, one of the articles this year is $0.003 per 1,000 of property valuation. And I will apologize because I stole this from last year and was too lazy to update it. After the new assessments, the town median value is not 353,000, but still works for this example. Say your house is valued at 353,000, that's $0.003 per thousand. To figure out what that personal tax impact would be to your residents. If that was your valuation, you take your number, 353,000, multiply it by the 0.003 and divide by 1,000. So that would give you the annual tax impact. In this case, that is $1.06 for the year. Another example, which I believe is the highest of this year's tax impacts outside of warrant 9, is $0.205 per 1,000 of property valuation. Following the same math and the same process, that gives you a annual cost with the assumption of a house valuation at 353,000 of $72.39 per year on the tax bill. So to get in a little bit to the proposed versus the default, again, following the same math as previously described, you'll notice on warrant Article 9 that the differential between the proposed and the default budget is approximately 14 cents per 1,000 of property valuation. So a few different numbers to put that into context. If your house is valued at $500,000, that ends up working out to $70, excuse me, per year. Once divided by the 1,000, it is not 70,000. Sorry, apparently I don't have enough coffee in me yet. And then carrying that forward, half of that, obviously, if the home is valued $250,000, $35 a year. If it's $750,000, then it is $105 per year. So that would be how you understand the personal tax impact from the proposed budget to the default budget. And just a quick overall budget cap to understand where that 2.4% number is a little further that I spoke about. The town operating budget is up 7.6% from last year. However, the proposed warrant articles are down 30%. So that is how you end up with an overall increase of just 2.4% when the operating budget is increasing by more than that. So the reminder to everybody is that the tax impact is calculated not just on the operating budget, but the operating budget and all proposed warrants that are backed and recommended by the budget committee. That is how the actual calculation carries through. So the municipal tax rate actually this year for that impact goes down. But a reminder that is because the valuations in the town went up. So the changes in valuation are not a linear change in what your tax changes will be. It's relative because the tax impact is calculated based on the entire town budget versus the entire tax base. So relative, regardless of what the valuation is, the amount you're paying from one year to the next is still just a relative ratio of what your home is valued at compared to other homes in the town against the entire need. Few RSAs, if anybody had any detailed questions or anything further on budget committee's role, responsibilities. But with that, I will turn it back to the town moderator.
Thank you, Owen. This time I'll open the floor for discussion.
Hi, my name is Brent Tweed, 23 Fort Hill Road.
Thank you, Brent.
I'd like to amend the article. I'd like to amend the amount 5,445,698. I'd like to amend that to 5,189,290. I got that.
Thank you. Do I have a second to amend Article 9 to 5 million from, do I need to say it again? What is the amount you were, I just have the amount for the public that the difference is, just so they are aware.
So amending the amount to 5,189,290.
I got that, and that will be the official amendment, but what is the difference, just so the
Oh,
public
the
knows?
dollar amount. I
Yes.
mean,
I can do it.
roughly, it's like 300,000, but I don't have the exact number.
Okay. All right. Do I have a second? Second from Tom Lukevich? Do you want to speak?
Yeah, I'd like to speak to it. So I would just, so I think Owen went over a lot of the numbers, but so the operating budget last year was just over 5 million. This one is about 5.4 million, so represents a 7.7% increase. We had a CPI inflation over the last 12 months of 2.6%, so it's quite a large increase over the rate of inflation. He did mention the tax impact, which was good. I was glad that he pointed that out. But I'd like to, so the reason last year we had a warrant article for 464,000 for a new grader. So that was a one-time expense, not normally raising $464,000 for a new grader. So that was a one-time expense for last year. So obviously we had an increase in amount we needed to raise by that amount last year. So that was an increase. So you'd expect going forward the next year, you would have that savings because you don't have that one-time expense anymore. So what we did instead is we rolled that over into the operating budget. And in fact, operating budget is increasing from last year almost that by that amount, approximately 400,000. So I think we should just try to stick the operating budget increases to the rate of inflation. You know, we all get our tax bills in December, it's increasing. Just common sense. If taxes keep going up, your tax bill is going to keep going up. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Brent. Further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of amending Article 9 to $5,189,290, raise your cards. I may need a count. Yeah. Ballot clerk, assistant, can you give me a count, please? Seven.
We called them up high so they can count them, don't put them down yet.
Seven. 15. 7 plus 15. Cards down. All those opposed? Oh, I guess I didn't need to count. Okay, motion fails. Further discussion on Article 9? Do I, oh. So
Thomas McKevitt, 2 Washington Lane. Just some thoughts on the budget since we're discussing it now. Yeah, the budget's going up almost 8%. There's obviously, some shenanigans moving things around over the years. The initial year or two when we had the tax cap, the town moved a bunch of high ticket items, mostly like road maintenance, hundreds of thousands of dollars out onto warrant articles because they were under the impression that the warrant articles didn't count towards the tax cap. And so they were able to spend more than the 4% by moving those things out onto warrant articles. And then later it was determined that actually you were supposed to count the warrant articles. And then they did some shenanigans with spending things out of reserve funds or whatever, reserve funds. And somehow that didn't count. And then they found a way to credit that back in the next year to get a little bit over the tax cap. And I think really we should, not try to do shenanigans, and we should also kind of go back and clean up some of these things, such as moving a lot of the road maintenance out onto warrant articles, where it risks getting voted down, which I believe happened in the past, and then we don't have a lot of money to maintain our roads, which is actually a very important function of the town. So I would, instead of having a lot of expenditure in here for new positions and things, I would rather see responsible spending of money on maintenance of our roads. Just an example of some of the goofy things in here in the rec department. So this is not reflected in the budget that was handed out here. That's very coarse. I have the granular kind of broken down one that was passed out at the budget committee hearing. And in here we see like rec part-time salary. It was $0. Then it was $4,200. Then they were asking for $2,600, and it's been proposed in here for $19,000. And it says, beach gate attendant. Recommendation is 4 new seasonal part-time workers that are gate attendants stationed at the entrance gate. Employees would cover opening and closing the gate. So in this world where we're using AI to replace tedious jobs, instead of the town buying a mechanical gate that has an electronic opener that we can give access to residents using that, we're instead creating 4 new employee positions. Also, the fire department budget is going up 25% again. It's probably doubled in the last 4 or 5 years. Those are more, positions being created. So, I think this is a little wasteful, and I wish the board would go back and kind of move the responsible things like the roads back into the budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Further discussion?
Madam Moderator, could I just make a comment?
Yes.
So Mr. Tweed had presented that the $464,000 that was spent last year on the grader, just a point that was no tax impact for that. The money that came for that came from unassigned fund balance and from the Highway Capital Truck Reserve Fund.
Thank you, Tim. Any other comments from the floor? All right, I will entertain a motion to invoke Article 4010 on Article 9.
Make a motion to invoke
RSA 4010. huh?
RSA 40:10 on
Do I have a
Article 9.
Second.
Owen and Greg. All those in favor of invoking RSA 40:10, it'll take me 10 times to get that right. All those opposed? Motion carries. Article 10, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $50,000 for the purpose of conceptual design and engineering services related to the relocation of the police department to the existing fire station through the construction of an addition with $50,000 to come from unassigned fund balance surplus and no amount to be raised by taxation. This appropriation shall be non-lapsing pursuant to RSA 32:7 BI and shall not lapse until the work is complete or no later than 1 year after the close of fiscal year 2026, whichever occurs first. A majority vote is required. The select board recommends this appropriation 5-0-0. The budget committee recommends this appropriation 11-0-0. The estimated tax impact is $0 per thousand of property valuation. Today, we have Facility Assessment Advisory Member Eric Danis to speak to the article.
Eric Danis, 24 Russell Road. First, I'd like to give a little history of the Facilities Advisory Committee. We were formed a number of years ago, I believe 3 years ago, to assess all the facilities in the town and give a report to the select board of where these facilities are at. And we identified 3 years ago the need to upgrade the police facility. We were actually reformed again this year, and our charge was to really focus on that facility so that we could present at this meeting. It's the most important thing that we feel that the town needs to do as far as the facilities in this town. You know, by facilities, I mean everything from the recycle area to the library, to the historic buildings. So we feel that this is the most important thing that we need to do here. There's a handout back here, and what we're going to do is follow the handout, and we've got a little slideshow for you. And before I get into that, I'd like to introduce the Facilities Committee staff. There's myself, Eric Danis, and we have Gary Aniston next to me here. Karen Gilbert also next to me here. We have Charlotte Fife, who's on the select board, and we also have John Decker, who's on the select board. Just to start, noted below this, I'm reading from our handout, noted below are the Facilities Advisory Committee's research and descriptions of a current urgent need to upgrade the location of the police department. Now, with that, we did a lot of research on this, talking to the police department, other police chiefs, talking with people around the town. And this committee is recommending relocating the police department as an addition to the fire station, creating a central safety complex. And you can see on the picture right here, that's our police station. Everybody knows where it is. Modern police departments require many considerations. The existing structure cannot comply with the best police operational practices, considerations, and regulations that stem from town, county, state, and federal guidelines. In addition to the existing fire station, would ensure compliance with current guidelines, regulations, and accreditation. At this present situation right here, this could not be an accredited police station. There's 9 people on staff at the police station right now, and that includes an administrative assistant. The current issues and needs relating to the police department. And what you're looking at right there is, I guess it's the main area inside the police department where everybody's desks are. The existing space is not adequate size for current staff and cannot be expanded if additional staff are needed. Right now, they're sharing desks and computers in there. And that's with the, 8 members plus the additional staff member that we have. There's no meeting or training room. Because there's no meeting or training room, the police staff have to go to other areas or other police departments for their training. And so they have to pay for that. And if we had an adequate size meeting or training room, we could actually do the training here at our own police department, and we wouldn't have to pay for that. The training would be free for us if we bring in other people. There's no meeting or training room. Staff are forced to share desk space and computers because of lack of space. Inadequate gear storage space. The armory does not meet requirements for proper storage of ammos and supplies. And I believe on the left there is the armory area. And if that picture was blown up a little bit better, you could see they actually have gear stored in where the armory area is right now. And on the right there is a storage area, which is a storage closet. And you can see the ceiling is open to above. And that's where they have their drones and their flashlights and all that other stuff. Now, on a typical police situation, if you're called out rapidly, you run into the gear area to grab your gear that you have to bring with you in your cruiser or car. And then you run into the armory area. And so right now you have stuff in both areas. It's a little bit back and forth. So it can get confusing unless you know exactly where that stuff is. There's no separate male or female locker rooms. On the left there is the locker room, and that's the shower. So we have male and female staff there, so you can't go into the locker room if, somebody else is in there. Which makes for, it just doesn't meet code. And on the right, if we look at that other picture, that's the evidence room right there. And typically evidence rooms are supposed to be, a camera in them and locked up, and but this is all we have to deal with. It's just a large closet, and all the lockers were donated. The workout area is inadequate. The gym equipment is in the corridors. So on the left is a small office where the workout area is. And that's what we have for workout space. And these guys use this all the time too. Every day, there's always somebody in the workout area. This is a corridor, and you can see at the end of the corridor, that's the elliptical that they have. And the thing in the front is kind of a dummy head thing. I have no idea what the heck they do with that. But there's not enough space to actually have a decent sized workout area. The IT control room has climate issues. And this is a closet area. Again, it's towards the front of the building, and water seeps up from the floor. If you look down on the floor, it's got cracks in it and water seeps up. And if you look towards the ceiling, in the back there's a pipe that goes across the ceiling, and water seeps down through that as well. So it comes down through the walls. And if that's an IT room, that's where all your computers are. You really don't want a damp area for your computer systems because they just won't last. Department vehicles are not undercover, are in hazardous areas. So this is our first snowstorm that we had this year. So it's not that 20-inch dump that we just had. On the left, you can see where that's where you bring in, I guess, clients, police clients. You go through that door there, and then you can unload them from your car. And the right-hand picture is the space in the back. And what I'm going to suggest is everybody walk out there when they're done and take a look at that space. And that's where all the police vehicles are. If they get covered with snow, you have to take the snow off your vehicle before you could go out on a call. And at the police department right here, if we have like a town meeting or something like this, say they get called out and say the town meeting is just getting out, we've got all kinds of people that are going to be down in the road, down in the parking lot, and we're going to have an officer trying to get his cruiser out of there as fast as he can. So it makes it for a hazardous safety situation. And there's limited privacy for sensitive police operations. Retention of personnel is difficult when compared this facility to other facilities. So the police department, if you get a recruit in, you're going to pay for their training, which is equal sometimes to a salary. So you're going to drop 60 to 80 grand on that recruit to get them trained to hire them as part of your police department. And if they come into a situation like this where they have to share a desk or share computers, they don't have a workout area, there's a leaky room where all of your computers are stored. It's just, you can't retain these people. They'll go to Derry, they'll go to someplace else that has a brand new police station or a nice police station. And I can't say that I blame them, but they've got all their accreditations, we've paid for it, so you lose people. So to relocate the police department to the property where the fire station is what we do is create a safety complex, and that comes with some benefits. If you look at it right here, you can see to the right, there's a large open space. Now, when the fire department was built, I don't know, 15, 18 years ago or something like that, somebody actually did some decent planning and open up that whole right side of that so that there's space there to put something. Now, if we put a police department there, number one, you don't have to pay for the property. It's already there. That's a plan view look at it, and that's from the original concept of when the fire station was planned. The septic system is that green spot that goes way in on the left, so you could use the septic system. All of your parking area is already there. We're not looking to put up the Taj Mahal or anything like that. All we're looking to do is get an adequate facility for the police department. The property is large enough for an addition, and it was originally planned that way. There is no cost. Existing electrical services and septic services can be upgraded rather than new. A meeting room, training room space can be utilized for training, saving the town training fees, and I discussed that a little earlier. Proper and separate male and female locker rooms can be planned to meet the current staff needs and future staff needs. So right now we have 9 people on staff, and with something like this, we can plan for like a 11 or 12 person staff. Proper size storage rooms, IT rooms, and an armory can be planned to meet the current staff needs and future staff needs. Department vehicles can be secured undercover with a sally port or a garage space. This was a real priority for the police department. Whether it's just a sally port, which is a cover over the cars, or a garage space where you can, I don't know how many vehicles. I think we have like 7 vehicles right now, where it maybe put 3 or 4 in a garage, keep the others in a sally port area. Once it's designed, that's the best scenario for us. Concrete and steel armory, which is a standard surveilled in concrete steel evidence rooms. That's what's required for certification. Improved communication between the police department and fire department. So they'll be right next to each other. So if you have any kind of a emergency, they're right there. They can talk to each other a little bit easier. Geographically close to the Nottingham School. It's the largest populated area on a daily basis. Centralized emergency response, faster coordination during major events. There'd be a single location. This is the single location for the public safety services and potential grant opportunities. If you have a combined safety complex, there are grants that you can write or apply for that are specific to combined safety complexes.
Eric, do you have some more highlights you want to jump to just so we can start wrapping this up?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
I'll go right down to the conclusion. The current facility doesn't adequately meet the needs of the department, personnel, in short, the town of Nottingham. And to start the process, this warrant article issued creates a path forward to make this happen. And what we would do is with that money, take the architects, find some architects and engineers. We'll probably go out to 3 different ones and see what they can do to come up with concept plans. The monies that we spent, this money, you need those concept plans in order to create a final plan for actually building this thing. So all of this is not wasted money. That money's spent will be for the concept plan, and that can be turned later into real plans.
Thank you, Eric.
Sure.
Chief Woodman, did you? I'm gonna, yeah. you-
Sorry, Chief Woodman. I typically
Put the
took up
timer
all
on.
your time, but that was on purpose.
See, he did it on purpose. Good morning, Nottingham. -2. I don't do this.
Talk about this, I see all familiar faces that were here and we were over at the school like 2 years ago when we already presented this a couple of years ago. This isn't something new is what I'm gonna say. I'm in the bad position of being the bearer of bad news and take it over and say, this is what we need. We needed it for a long time. It should have been done in 2007 when they built the fire department. Raise your hand when they built the fire department. It should have been a safety complex. I'm not gonna beat a dead horse. This police department doesn't meet our needs. And in the long run, talk about money, because I know we're all afraid of that. I live in town, I'm a taxpayer too, okay? But in the long run, we're gonna pay more. Does that make sense? Because these guys and girls back there and everybody that's getting hired today in law enforcement isn't going to work in those standards. That's not a threat, that is reality. I appreciate you all, and I think that you all understand how trustworthy I am. I wouldn't recommend this if it wasn't something that we need, okay? Again, it's something that should have happened a long time ago. This is a path forward. The mere fact that the budget committee, the board of selectmen unanimously voted to do this, the facilities committee have been working on it with me for 3 years. They're sick of hearing me talk about it, okay? And they don't want to burden you up front with that tax burden. They took it from unassigned fund balance. The BOS said, this is so important because we need to get started on this. Let's not burden the taxpayer. This is, like I said, this is a path forward. I'm very invested in this. I'm excited about this. It's not gonna happen overnight, okay? But it has to happen because in the end, I know you're scared. Oh no, it's gonna be this and like that. We're gonna pay more. If we have to keep fixing things at this police department to fit with the standard, you're gonna pay more in the long run. There's no cheaper time right now to do this than right now. Does that make sense? Because if you keep kicking the can down the road, you're gonna pay more. That's all I have. I'm sorry. I thought that's good.
Thank you, Chief. Charlotte, you want that?
I'm sorry.
Charlotte, do you have anything to add or you go?
Actually, yes. Again, I just feel this is so fiscally responsible. It's forward thinking. I really have nothing to add, that the chief did an excellent job. This is coming from unassigned funds. The $50,000 will be money well spent. And we already have one wall of the new police station built. I hope you'll support this.
Thank you. This time I will open the floor for discussion. Seeing no discussion, do I have a motion to invoke Article 4010 on RSA 4010 on Article 10? Motion made by Dee Decker. Do I have a second by Charlotte Fife? All those in favor of invoking RSA 4010? Thank you. Motion carries. Article 10 will be on the ballot as written. Article 11, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $10,000 to be added to the Police Technology Equipment Expendable Trust Fund previously established. Majority vote required. Select Board recommends this appropriation 5-0 to 0. Budget Committee recommends this appropriation 11-0-0. Estimated tax impact is, oh boy, 0.007 cents per thousand of property valuation. And Board of Select Person Charlotte Fife, speak to the article.
I'll be brief. The Police Technology Equipment Expendable Trust Fund, that's a mouthful, was established in 2023. This fund is used for the purchase and repair of high-tech equipment that's crucial to operate our police department. And that includes things like body cameras, mobile data terminals, cameras, tasers, radios, radar. This fund acts much like a savings account or a rainy day fund for crucial replacement or repair of this equipment, and it relieves taxpayers when there's sudden unanticipated needs. Like all savings accounts, as money is used, it must be replenished on a moderate, regular basis to keep up with need. This is financially prudent warrant article and has been recommended unanimously by both the Select Board and the Budget Committee. And I hope you'll support the Police Technology Equipment ET Fund.
Thank you, Charlotte. This time I'll open the floor to discussion. Seeing no discussion, do I have a motion to invoke RSA 4010 Article 11 on Article 11? Steve Welch, second. Owen Friend Gray. All those in favor of invoking RSA 4010? Motion. Oh, all those opposed? Motion carries. Article 11 will appear on the ballot as written. Article 12, to see if the town will vote to establish a revolving police detail fund pursuant to RSA 31:95H, so that all revenues from police special details shall be deposited into said fund. The money in the fund shall be allowed to accumulate from year to year and shall not be considered part of the town's general unreserved fund balance surplus. The town treasurer shall have custody of all monies in the fund and shall pay out the same only upon order of the governing body, the Select Board. No further approval of the legislative body shall be required. Such funds may be expended only for the purpose for which the fund was created. It is the intent of this article that this fund will be used in place of the special revenue fund previously adopted in 2000. Majority vote required. This is again, Charlotte.
Okay. This warrant article number 12 proposes that the town replace the current police special revenue fund, which was started in 2000, with a revolving police detail fund. The revenue from police details would now be placed in this fund and carry over each year to help defray a variety of police department expenses. Previously, unspent funds collected through the special police details would revert to the town's general fund balance at the end of each year. This warrant helps provide a clear, clean path for monies raised by police details to be used by and for the police department. And I hope you'll support this warrant.
Further discussion?
Let's talk about it for a second, because I don't think people probably understand it.
Sure.
Can I get 1 minute? Oh, no, I'm not.
Are you actually gonna take a minute?
I know.
Fair enough.
Confused, and I just wanted you to know that the way it was printed 25 years ago was wrong. Because we were never, the police department was never able to use that money to offset some stuff, you know, our equipment that we use for these details. Even the officers that are using it, what equipment that they wear, uniforms that they wear, anything in the cruiser. I mean, there's a lot of things that we can do with that money, and it's not a lot of money that we make for a detail. You guys know what a detail is? Like, when you see an officer on the side of the road for like, they're doing a detail for a tree service or Eversource or New Hampshire Co-op, you know, they're holding the sign. You know, those are called details. We do details obviously too at the state park in the summertime, beach details, right? We're there on the weekends from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. The town collects some money, you know, the officer gets paid, but then there's money, there's like $10 or $15 left over from that. So for years, that money has been just going to the unassigned fund balance, but in all actuality, it should go back to the police department. Every other town, because that's what they do, it goes back to their department, and chiefs of police are able to utilize that money for equipment and things that we need. Does that make sense? So again, it's cleaning up. It's cleaning up that warrant article that was written wrong 25 years ago and establishing it the right way. It's like a lot of things that have been happening through the years. When we're finding something that just doesn't make sense, when I took over, I'm like, wait, where's that money going? I don't understand this. Nobody was able to even explain it. And they're like, okay. So I did my research and this is what we need to do. So I wanted to make sure that you guys understand that. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense to you. I hope so.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Discussion from the floor?
Sandra Weston, 345 Stage Road. When we're talking about unassigned balance funds or reserved accounts, would it be possible to tell us how much money is in those accounts now?
Anyone to address that?
I do have that information. The Police Technology Equipment Expendable Trust Fund currently has a balance of $21,220.18. Sandra, would you like me to repeat that, or did you get that? Thank you.
Further discussion? Pending no further discussion, do I have a motion to invoke RSA 40:10 on Article 12? Gary Anderson, second. Mike Holton. All those in favor of invoking RSA 40:10? All those opposed? Motion carries. This article shall appear as written on the ballot. Article 13, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $40,000 to be added to the Fire Vehicle SCBA Capital Reserve Fund previously established. Majority vote required. Select Board recommends this appropriation 500. Budget Committee recommends this appropriation 1100. Estimated tax impact is 0.027 cents per 1,000 of property valuation. We have Board of Select Person John Decker speaking to the article.
Good morning, everybody. So this is the article we have on the warrant every year. Basically, it will fund fire trucks as well as the breathing apparatus equipment, Currently the fund balance is $594,719. There is a planned purchase for a new SCBA compressor coming up this year, which is approximately $40,000. So the 40,000 we're putting in this year would be basically a wash. And we do have fire truck needs coming up in, I don't know what year, a few years out, but they're very expensive. I know. I don't know it off the top of my head.
What's that? 28 is.
28?
Yeah.
28, thank you. $1 million, yeah.
Discussion from the floor. Seeing no further discussion from the floor. Would anyone like to invoke RSA 40:10, Article 13? Second, motion by Tim DeBrio, second by Owen Friend Gray. Article 13 shall appear on the ballot as written. Article 14, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $45,000 for the purpose of purchasing the necessary fuel, supplies, equipment, and maintenance.
Do you want to vote on that?
Yeah.
Thank you. Were you trying to tell me too? Thank you. At least some people are keeping me sharp. All those in favor of invoking RSA 40:10, all those opposed, motion carries. Now as Article 14, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $45,000 for the purpose of purchasing the necessary fuel, supplies, equipment, and maintenance to run the ambulance and billing services for 2026, and to authorize the withdrawal of $45,000 from the ambulance and equipment replacement special revenue fund created for this purpose. Majority vote required. Select Board recommends this appropriation 500. Budget Committee recommends this appropriation 1100. Estimated tax impact is $0 per thousand of property valuation. Board of Select Person John Decker will speak to the article.
This again is another warrant article we have on the ballot every year. And it is basically funding the ambulance through the revenues that it collects. So last year's expenditures were $40,238 so there were receipts of $110,636 with a fund balance of $352,498. So this will fund any of the ambulance pieces, and it's self-funding basically.
Discussion from the floor. Seeing no discussion from the floor, any motions to invoke RSA 40:10? Steve Soref wins. Do I have a second? Pam Kelly. Get some new names on the list. All those in favor, raise your card and say aye. All those opposed, motion carries. Article 15 will appear on the ballot as written.
14.
Oh, I was about to skip 15 altogether to return the page. Article 15, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum. By the way, that was Article 14 that will move to the ballot as written. Article 15, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $50,000 for the purpose of reconstructing and paving the existing parking lot and installing new electrical conduits and a parking lot lighting at the Blaisdell Memorial Library. This is a non-lapsing appropriation per RSA 32:7BI and will not lapse until the work is complete or not later than December 31st, 2027, whichever occurs earlier. Major vote required. Select Board recommends this appropriation 500. Budget Committee recommends this appropriation 830. Estimated tax impact is 30.34 cents per thousand of property valuation. Speaker, Board of Select Member John Decker or Jen Phillips. Dan, I also have Library Trustee Chair Jen Phillips.
Good morning again. Jen Phillips, 17 Rocky Hill Road. Voter card 61. This is our parking lot. And this is the stripped down version. A number of years ago, I was here asking to make it safer by installing a horseshoe shape. That became quite an expensive project, excessively expensive. So this is just replacing and reconstructing the existing lot, just the one lot. We had hoped to do both, but again, the cost bumped us over a limit. So I guess that's pretty much it. I would invite anyone who thinks it's not necessary to swing by the library tomorrow and look at the parking lot when it's empty. It's disintegrating. There's one hole that was in one spot. It is now across three. You can pick up chunks of the parking. Happy to answer any questions.
Can I just add something? This also includes lighting too.
Yes, this does include lighting. There is one Eversource light on a pole that lights about a third of a corner of the parking lot. It's not adequate. It leaves most of the parking lot in shadow, and we are hoping to eventually pave that second lot. So this would allow us to get appropriate lighting on the existing lot and establish the conduit to eventually pave and light the other lot.
Thank you, Jen. Questions, comments from the floor? Seeing no questions or comments from the floor, would anyone like to invoke RSA 4010 on Article 15? Karen Quinn, second. Okay, Jen Phillips. I gotta search for him. You guys are slacking on me over here. All those in favor, raise your card and say aye.
Yeah.
All opposed. Article 15 will appear on the ballot as written. Article 16, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $300,000 for highway reconstruction and maintenance of town roads, including but not limited to paving a section of Priest Road to the rear access of the fire station. Paving approaches on dirt roads throughout town as prioritized by the Public Works Director, and paving approximately 1/3 mile of Ledge Farm Road extending from the existing pavement or such other town roads as may become a priority. This is a non-lapsing appropriation per RSA 32(7)(bi) and will not lapse until the work is complete or not later than December 31st, 2027, whichever occurs earlier. Major vote required. Select Board recommends this appropriation 500. Budget Committee recommends this appropriation 1010. Estimated tax impact is 2.05 cents per thousand of property valuation. Board of Select Person John Decker will speak to the article. No, Matt Sherlin.
Yep.
Schooled ya.
Yeah, we have our yearly road construction and maintenance. This one mentions the 1/3 mile off of Ledge Farm. The Priest Road section just goes to the rear access of the fire station, either for looking forward for the police station, but then also just make sure that any trucks, if we get into a tanker train or anything where the fire department's being regularly used. And then in 27 or 28, when they shut down 152 for the bridge work, we're just pre-building that section of road. It says paving approaches, so there's several on 152, 125, areas where like Guile Road comes out onto Macrillis, and then people try to go, they're kind of digging up the pavement coming out of Siemens Point and other areas like that. We're going to try to pave those areas so that the edges of the road next to major paved routes, we're not carrying dirt and gravel onto the road, which is a hazard for motorcycles, but also limits the time that the highway department has to go out and rebuild these. So if we move, if we put 100 feet of pavement there, then when people are trying to accelerate onto the paved road, they're not tearing it up. That's pretty much the extent of this year's job.
Thank you, Matt Sherlin. Questions, comments, amendments from the floor? Seeing none, do we have a motion to invoke RSA 40:10? Sandra Weston, second. Carrie Anderson. All those in favor, raise your cards and say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Article 17 will be printed on the ballot as written. I'm gonna call for a quick little break so everyone can stretch their legs, use the restroom. We will convene in about 5-10 minutes. Oh, I keep turning the page too fast on myself. That is 16. That is, we've invoked RSA 4010. I was better with my arms. Everyone could wrap up their conversations and go back to their seats. I tried switching.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's good fire too.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Right.
I do that too. This is so much easier than town meeting used to be. Okay. Not as fun. I like town meeting too.
Because you know what, you could explain your line.
I like it. Last one. Hi. Yeah. How are you? Okay. Yeah.
It's easy to vote no behind the closed curtain. It's not so easy to vote no. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I like it. Take our seats, please, everyone. We'd like to bring this session back in.
There's going to be.
All right, now to remember where I left off. We
17.
stop turning pages so fast. Actually, a couple of housekeeping items before we move forward. Number one, not only do I keep saying the RSA wrong, but all of the estimated tax impacts I am reading, saying cents, I mean dollars. So $0.205. The decimal's throwing me off. I blazed over the zoning articles because they're not up for discussion and amendment today. However, hearing no objections, I want to hop back to them because after the warrant was printed, the planning board made their recommendations on those articles. And in order to have those printed on the ballot, we do need motions to move the sentence. Does somebody have a print of it for me? Sorry, Ellen, making you go backwards. Here we go. So I need a motion to amend each article with the planning board's approval. So can I have a motion to amend Article 2 to add the sentence approved by Planning Board 700?
So moved.
John Decker, can I get a second? Owen Frank Gray. All those in favor of amending Article 2 to add the line approved by Planning Board 700? Raise your card, say aye. Impact is $0.044 per thousand of property valuation. Board of Select Person Chair Tim DeBrio will speak to the article.
So last year we added $18,000 to the expendable trust fund, and as you can see on the next slide, we expended $20,845. The fund balance was $63,560, and it will be $42,715. Last year, it was last year. This fund took care of the furnace replacement at the library, repairs to the waste oil furnace at the recycling center, lighting at the highway garage, and electrical service upgrade at the community center, and a lot more. And if you take a walk through this building itself, you can see, the recreation department has expanded its location. If you haven't been in to see it, come in during the week, and it's a great spot. They have 3 people that were working in a closet that now actually have office space, which is fantastic. And then our new meeting room, which is in the back of the toward the back of the building, we've got much better broadcast ability there. So basically trying to bring us up to speed, but also maintenance on this building because it is fairly old. There's a lot of unanticipated expenses that tend to come up. So this is what those funds would help with.
Thank you, Tim. Any discussion, amendments, questions from the floor? Seeing none, do I have a motion to invoke? Steve Soref invokes RSA 4010. Do I have a second? Merrill Dwyer. Yes. All those in favor, say aye. All opposed, motion carries. Article 18 will appear on the ballot as written. Article 19, to see if the town will vote to establish a general assistance expendable trust fund per RSA 31:19A for the purpose of providing general assistance to individuals who meet the eligibility requirements and to raise and appropriate the sum of $5,000 to put in the fund, with this amount to come from taxation. Further, to name the select board as agents to expend from said fund. Majority vote required. Select board recommends this appropriation 500. Budget committee recommends this appropriation 1100. Estimated tax impact is $0.003 per thousand of property valuation. Speaker, Board of Select Person Chair, Tim DeBrio.
So according to section 165:1 RSA, each town is required to provide assistance to folks, whether they're residents of the town or they're staying in town when they come upon financial hardship. This hardship must be proven, and there's a whole application process. It's available on the website for folks to use these funds. These funds were in the operating budget. This past year, we over double spent what we had allocated. And so we were thinking that it would make more sense to establish a trust fund similar to other trust funds we've established so that when the expenses exceed what we have available, it doesn't impact other departments.
Further discussion?
No, not what I was expecting.
Hi, Tom Bukevich, Washington Lane. I would like to make a motion to amend Article 19 to replace the word individuals with United States citizens domiciled in Nottingham. Here it is written.
Do I have a second for Tom's motion to amend the article sentence general assistance to from individuals change to U.S. citizens domiciled in Nottingham? Further discussion?
Deborah, could I have your last name again?
Deborah, could I have your last name?
Charbonnier, Charbonnier. Charbonnier.
Thank you. No discussion on the amendment?
Just a little discussion, if we could, and maybe the town attorney could assist with this, is I'm not sure of the legality of that amendment. Given what I just said, it doesn't matter if somebody is, I guess we need the definition of domiciled in Nottingham because it does not have to be a resident of Nottingham. They could be in the town and require this assistance as required by the state. And then also, I believe in the RSA, it does say that the funds can be used for people that are not U.S. citizens.
Give her an opportunity there.
Charbonnier.
I don't know if I wanted to read the RSA. Did you see it? Okay.
Yeah, okay. Those a few little dancers. Bet Steve Soroff has a joke or two for us. Sorry, Peggy, sorry.
The application.
Awkward silence. You know. Yeah. Really, Steve, joke. So being informed by legal that this amendment is not legal per RSA section 1. Just gonna pop it up on the screen here for us. Hold on. So remember, we cannot amend things that are prescribed by law.
I'm sorry, I didn't see in here where it talked about a general assistance fund being established and the restrictions on that fund. This merely says that the town must provide, for the poor and whatnot. In the past, the town has done that out of, general assistance lines in the budget, and they would still be able to do so to satisfy this RSA. I don't see any restriction in here that talks about narrowing the scope of a fund to be established, where in the future, we look back at what was passed at town meeting and we look at how that fund was established to determine how it can be spent. That has nothing to do with this RSA. I see nothing in here about a fund being established. So I would ask that town attorney reconsider that based on that comment. Thank you.
Based on section 165, the amendment would conflict with that purpose and what it dictates in the statute.
So we just not allow the motion. Disallow the motion. Disallow the motion to amend Article 19 per legal counsel. Further discussion on the article? Seeing no further discussion on Article 19, do I have a motion to invoke RSA 4010, Owen Friend Gray? Second, Steve Welch. All those in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Article 19 will appear on the ballot as written. Article 20, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $25,000 to be added to the revaluation capital reserve fund previously established. Majority vote required. Select Board recommends this appropriation 5-0-0. Budget Committee recommends this appropriation 10-1-0. Estimated tax impact is $0.017 per thousand of property valuation. Tim DeBrio.
Probably the least popular discussion right now is thinking about revaluation of our town. But This capital reserve fund was established years ago to help to pay for that 5-year reval that's required by the New Hampshire state constitution. So it just allows us to save for that one-time expenditure every 5 years.
Sandra Weston, 345 Stage Road. Again, I'd like to ask if there is a balance in this account. What it's. Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me.
Right, looks like it's $85,125.85. Oh, one withdrawal.
8,900.
Cannot see that. Sorry. Progressives are not fun in the sliding. Further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, do I have a motion to invoke? That's lame. Motion by Owen Fran Gray to invoke RSA 4010, second by Steve Welch. All those in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Article 20 will appear on the ballot as written. Article 21, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $10,000 to be added to the Invasive Species Prevention and Eradication Removable Expendable Trust Fund previously established. Majority vote required. Select Board recommends this appropriation 500. Budget Committee recommends this appropriation 920. Estimated tax impact is $0.007 per thousand of property valuation. Or Select Member John Decker. You're up.
There's nobody here.
No.
Okay. All right. So this is a fund that we've been saving money to prevent aquatic invasive species. And we've been adding to it every year, and we have an upcoming need for Pawtuckaway Lake where the variable milfoil has been getting much worse. I don't know if anybody had a chance to see the meeting last Tuesday. I should probably go through the slides a little bit, huh? So I thought somebody was going to be here to present this. So where are we? Okay, we're on the map. So in the shallow area of Pawtuckaway behind Log Cabin Island, the area called Fundy, there's been a tremendous amount of milfoil growth. It was treated with Prosolacor several years ago, and that actually did knock the stuff down quite a bit, but it is still growing again. It's come back faster than I think we've expected. And they're looking for being able to fund a larger treatment in that area. The town beach falls into that area as well. So this fund would be helping to continue adding funds to that. Also, the last treatment was covered by the state at 100%. This next time, the grants will only be 50% from the state. So I'm not sure if there's anything else in here.
That, and then the next page shows how they're breaking that down.
All right, so
He's gonna take.
okay, thanks, Pete.
Pete is our PLIA treasurer and can speak a little bit more to the.
Peter Warsnick, Shore Drive, Nottingham. What John said was a little bit too much information, but anyway. To sum it up, this is a fund that's been established a few years ago because we saw that there was a need for invasive species because it had spread throughout the state, and it was only a matter of time before it hit Pawtuckaway, and it has hit Pawtuckaway big time. The treatment that John was talking about that took place approximately 3 years ago was paid for by a grant from the state. It was 100% grant from the state to pay for the treatment. Which exceeded, I believe, about $75,000 at the time. So, the treatment that John is talking about now, is, what the DES has come up with. We have taken our chairperson, Neil Santos, has done an excellent job doing presentations to the town board, has shown that the need exists for a big area of the Pawtuckaway to be treated. Unfortunately, the state says that they will only pick up half of the cost of it, which results in about $72,000. As you can see from the slide, the Lake Association is going to contribute $15,000. The fund that has been established that we'd like to be added to again this year, like we has been in the last few, is going to fund it $40,000. And we're still out with our tin cups, asking different agencies to pick up the remaining $17,000. Without this fund, the town would not have been able to put up $40,000. And as you can see, the residents cannot do it themselves. If you can go to the map of the lake, you will see the town beach area. Right off the town beach was an area that was treated 2 years ago. In between all those dots was the area that was treated. Wherever you see the dots, it has spread because it hasn't been treated. If you go off to the left, all the way off to the left, to the top left-hand corner, that's Fundy Cove. That is where the public boat launch is. The public boat launch is the busiest boat launch in the state park system. Boats for pleasure, fishing, whatever reason, come up through a very shallow area of Fundy Cove, go through Log Cabin Island, and as they're doing that, their props are cutting up the milfoil and helping it distribute throughout the area. The Fundy area is a very shallow area. It's an area that has a very deep silt base, approximately 2 feet of silt that this stuff grows in, and the only real way to treat it is chemically. Again, we're approaching other organizations for grants, but I feel that it's important that the town continue to put $10,000 aside every year to remove milfoil in this case, and God knows what else coming up in the future. Thank you.
Pete. Open up the floor, further discussion. Seeing none, do I have a motion to invoke RSA 4010, Steve Welch, second by Owen Frank Gray. All those in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Article 21 will appear on the ballot as written. Article 22, shall the town modify the provisions of RSA 72:39A for elderly exemption from property tax in the town of Nottingham based on assessed value for qualified taxpayers to be as follows. For a person 65 years of age up to 75 years, $205,000. For a person 75 years up to 80 years, $290,000. For a person 80 years of age or older, $376,000. To qualify, the person must have been a New Hampshire resident for at least 3 consecutive years, own the real estate individually or jointly, or if the real estate is owned by such person's spouse, they must have been married for at least 5 consecutive years. In addition, the taxpayer must have a net income of not more than $46,000, or if married, a combined income of less than $58,000, and the own net assets not in excess of $245,000, including the value of the person's residence. Majority vote required. Board of Select Person Member Steve Welch will speak to the article.
Yes, so as we all know, our taxes took a little bit of an increase this year due to the valuation. And both this article for the elderly exemption and the disabled article that we're going to be talking about next. We raised the amounts up that they can get for a reduction based on their age and their income to match what they received last year. So we didn't think we should penalize one, the elderly, or two, the disabled people and expect them to pay an exorbitant amount of taxes. So that's the extent and purpose of these next two articles.
Thank you, Steve. Discussion from the floor? Seeing none, do I have a motion to invoke RSA 40:10? Marguerite Tucker? Peg Tucker? Marguerite Tucker? Second from Owen Friend Gray. All those in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Article 22 will appear on the ballot as written. Article 23, shall the town modify the provisions of RSA 7237B, exemption for the disabled from property tax based on assessed value for qualified taxpayers to be $205,000 to qualify? The person must have been a New Hampshire resident for at least 5 years, own the real estate individually or jointly, or if the real estate is owned by such person's spouse, they must have been married for at least 5 consecutive years. In addition, the taxpayer must have a net income of not more than $46,000, or if married, a combined net income of not more than $58,000. And own net assets not in excess of $245,000, excluding the value of the person's residence. Majority vote required. Speaker, Board of Select Member Steve Welch, believe just spoke to this.
The reason stated before, I urge you to pass this.
Further discussion from the floor?
Kathy Mayo, 131 Raymond Road. I just have a question. Why is it 3 years on the elderly and why is it 5 on the disabled?
It's prescribed by statute. It's not our choice for the wording.
Thank you.
Further questions, comments? Motion to invoke RSA 40:10. Steve Sora, second. Steve Welch. All those in favor of the motion? All opposed? Motion carries. Article 23 will appear on the ballot as written. Article 24, shall the town vote to modify the service-connected permanent and total disability tax credit pursuant to RSA 7235 by increasing the annual tax credit from $4,000 to $5,000. Majority vote required. Board of Select Members, Steve Welch.
So I think this is just prescribed by the state, so we're just increasing it to the 5,000 to give the totally disabled veterans some tax relief.
Yeah, previously they were allowed to get a veterans tax credit and this one. The veterans tax credit was like $750, but they can't get both. So this is basically transferring the other funds into this one.
Discussion from the floor?
Karen Quinn, 26 Tuckaway Shore. It's weird. There's a question mark on the end of this. Shouldn't it be a period? I know it's picky, but it seems odd. 4,000 to 5,000 question mark.
Right. I feel the same. It should be a period.
Right.
That's
Do we need a motion? Okay, are you making a motion to amend? Do I have a second for the motion? Steve Welch, would anyone like to discuss the motion to change from a question mark to a period? All those in favor of the motion, raise your cards. All opposed? Motion carries. Article 23 shall, 24 shall appear on the ballot. I actually got myself shall appear on the ballot as amended. Karen did the first and I already forgot. Was it you who did second? Gary? It was Steve, but we'll give it to Gary. He needs to get in. Pending no further discussion, do I have a motion to invoke RSA 4010 on the article? D. Decker, second Karen Quinn. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Right. At this time, I am going to recuse myself from moderating Article 25. My assistant moderator, Bonnie McKinnon, will take over.
Good morning, everyone. It is still morning. I had to check there. I'm going to read Article 25, which is a citizen, sorry, my gavel just about fell, which is a citizen petition to ensure that town residents have reliable, legally enforceable access to the Nottingham Town Beach for recreational purposes as required by the deed dated October 2nd, 1964, by which the state of New Hampshire conveyed the property to the town of Nottingham, shall the town authorize the select board to take all lawful actions necessary to secure, record, and preserve permanent, irrevocable public access to the Nottingham Town Beach, including but not limited to the acquisition of a recorded easement, fee interest, acceptance of a public right-of-way or road, or other irrevocable property interest, and further authorize the expenditure of up to $85,000 as a one-time appropriation from existing funds, including the Conservation Fund established under RSA 36A, the Recreation Revolving Fund, or other lawfully available non-tax funds for purposes including but not limited to securing, recording, and preserving such access, and for associated costs, including surveying, appraisal, title examination, recording fees, engineering, legal services, and acquisition costs necessary to accomplish this purpose, provided that no funds authorized under this article shall be used for ongoing staffing, patrol, enforcement, or other recurring operational expenses, and provided further that any funds not expended shall lapse to the originating fund, and provided further that no access arrangement shall rely solely on revocable permission, license, seasonal agreement, or terminable contract. Majority vote required. Select Board does not recommend this appropriation, 050. Budget Committee does not recommend this appropriation, 290. Estimated tax impact is $0 per thousand of property valuation. Excuse me.
Presented the same way.
They're presented the same way, so I didn't bring it up.
Did you have a question, Carol?
On behalf of the budget committee, the recommendation of the budget committee is wrong.
Is wrong?
It should be flipped.
Oh, it would be.
Sorry, it should be flipped. It was because the phrasing is not, so it's 920.
Is that correct? 920. Yeah, okay. So yes, the vote was 920. Not recommended.
So that's the way it's written because the same with the BOS.
And it's the same with the BOS.
Right.
So
They-
both
they're always
boards
written
did
that
not
way.
recommend.
They're always
One
written. Yes,
unanimous,
no.
the other by a vote of 9 members of the committee. Is that correct? Everybody good with that? Does anyone wish to speak to this? Maureen, do you come up to the microphone, please?
Good morning, Maureen Campiola, 5 Garrier. I want to start by setting the frame clearly because I think there's a lot of confusion around the discussion around this warrant article. This is about access, not ownership. The town of Nottingham owns the town beach, and that has never been disputed. The issue before us and this warrant article addresses is whether the town has permanent, legal, enforceable access to a property that it already owns and has relied on for decades. The town owns the beach, but what it does not have is permanent, irrevocable right that guarantees the town can reach its own property year after year without relying on permission. And that difference matters. Permission can change, permission can be withdrawn, but a legal right cannot. Everything we are talking about today flows from that distinction. In 1961, Nottingham voters were asked to decide whether to accept a state conveyance of what we now call the town beach. The 61 town report is very clear about the conditions under which the state would transfer that property. It states that the town could raise and appropriate funds to develop a town beach and picnic area subjected to agreement that an agreement was reached with abutters, which was described as necessary before the state would transfer title to the town. And that language matters. Voters were explicitly told that access through abutting landowners was a prerequisite to the state conveyance. In other words, the town did not accept a landlocked parcel. The expectation at the time was that the access would be obtained and would support development and ongoing recreational use. Following the vote, the state of New Hampshire conveyed the property of the town by quitclaim deed, and it was recorded in November of that year. The state completed the conveyance in 1964 after voters were told access agreement with abutters was necessary. That strongly suggests that the access condition was treated as satisfied at the time, even if the underlying documentation was not recorded in a way that protects the town today. The town then developed and used that site as a public recreational area with residents accessing it openly for decades. That long-standing uninterrupted use explains why the lack of a formal recorded access documentation did not surface as a problem until recently. For decades, residents accessed the town beach as a matter of course. Access functioned without ongoing dispute or with reliance on an annual written permission. While the town may have managed beach operations seasonally, access itself was not questioned or restricted by surrounding landowners. There were no annual access agreements. There was no renegotiations and no conditions placed on whether the town could reach its own property. Because access worked in practice and was never challenged, the lack of a permanent recorded access right has never surfaced. The gap remained invisible for years precisely because nothing forced the town to confront it. What's changed is not ownership. What's changed is that access has become, which has functioned without issue, was questioned and then restricted. Once that happened, the town was forced to examine whether it had a permanent, legally enforceable right to reach property it already owns. That revealed a gap. Access existed in practice, but it was not protected by a recorded, irrevocable legal interest. At that point, the issue stopped being theoretical. Now, this is important. The specific circumstances that brought this issue to the surface are not the point. Regardless of why access questions arose, once the town learned that access depended on a revocable permission rather than a legal right, doing nothing was no longer neutral. The question before voters is not why the gap was exposed. The question is whether the town should fix the gap that is now known. The town's current access is governed by short-term seasonal agreements that must be renewed and can be withdrawn, which confirms that access is permission-based rather than legally protected. Temporary access or temporary permission is not the same as a legal right. When access depends on permission, it can be withdrawn, it has to be renegotiated, and the town has no long-term certainty. And that is not a stable or responsible way to manage a public asset. In 1964, the deed confirms that the town owns the town beach and states that the property is to be used for recreational purposes. The deed does not state any seasonal limitation on recreational use, and it does not condition access on annual renewed agreements. I want to be precise here. I'm not saying that the town is currently in violation of the deed. What I am saying is that when access becomes seasonal, conditional, or dependent, the town's actual ability to use its own recreational property becomes constrained in a way that diverges from both the original voter understanding and decades of historical practice. Securing permanent legally enforceable access restores alignment between what voters approved and what the state conveyed and how the property has historically been used. It also reduces long-term legal and governance risk by replacing assumptions with certainty. Now, this part goes unnoticed and unstated often, but it matters. For decades, the issue stayed hidden because access worked. Once access was challenged, the town learned that it lacked permanent protection. At that point, doing nothing is no longer neutral. Voting no does not preserve the status quo. It preserves vulnerability. Voting yes does not force a specific outcome. It just authorizes the town to fix a known gap responsibly. Once risk is known, choosing to do nothing is still a choice. And that matters politically because voters expect the town to protect public access. And it matters legally because ignoring a known exposure is not the same as being cautious. This warrant article authorizes the town to secure permanent, legally enforceable access using lawful options. It does not dictate a single solution. It allows flexibility, including easements, acquisitions of a fee interest, acceptance of a public right-of-way or road, or another irrevocable property interest. It authorizes up to $85,000 from existing funds as a one-time authorization. If no money is needed, it returns to the fund. If nothing is spent, nothing is spent. The $85,000 amount is a firm authorization cap. If permanent access cannot be secured within that amount, the select board would need to return to voters with a new proposal before proceeding further. The phrase lawful options is intentionally broad so that the town can pursue the least disruptive, least expensive solution first, rather than being locked into any one single approach. This is measured and fiscally responsible. What the article does, what the article does not do, okay? It does not raise taxes. It does not mandate eminent domain. It does not require litigation. It does not target any specific individual. It doesn't change beach rules, and it does not create staffing or enforcement costs. This article does not authorize eminent domain. Any use of eminent domain would be governed by a separate statute and procedure and would require a separate vote to take any property. This article authorizes negotiation access only. It is only about access. Now, there's been a lot of discussion about gate attendants and staffing at the beach. So gate attendants address behavior and monitoring. They do not create secure legal access rights. Permanent legally enforceable access is a structural issue. It's a one-time problem that requires a one-time solution, and staffing does not fix that. This article authorizes that one-time effort with a defined ceiling and not an open-ended expenditure. Permanent access is a one-time effort. The article uses existing funds and is structured so that the unspent money returns to its source. The tax impact would be zero. I want to address something head on. This article does not name anyone. It does not mandate a specific outcome. It does not assume bad faith by anybody. The geography is what it is, and any permanent access solution will naturally affect the land surrounding the beach because that's where the beach is located. And that is impact, and that is not intent. The intent is to protect a public asset the town already owns. Avoiding a known problem because it involves a specific property sets a bad precedent for every public asset in town. For decades, this issue didn't surface because access worked. Now it has been tested and restricted, and that means the risk is no longer theoretical. Doing nothing means accepting continued uncertainty, repeated conflict, and recurring costs. Once a risk is known, choosing not to ask is still a decision. Acting now closes the gap that's already been exposed. If we do nothing, nothing changes. Access remains temporary. Annual negotiations continue. Staffing debates repeat, and the town remains exposed. And that's not a threat. It's simply what the last few years have shown us. The town owns the beach. Access was assumed and not secured. That assumption now has been tested. This warrant article fixes the gap responsibly without raising taxes, without mandating extreme action, and without targeting anyone. It gives the town the ability to protect something it already owns, and that is what reasonable government and governance looks like. A yes vote provides clear voter direction and funding to secure permanent, legally enforceable access using the least disruptive and least expensive option available. A no vote leaves the town dependent on temporary permission and guarantees this issue will return. Voting yes chooses stability over uncertainty.
Thank you, Maureen.
To the way that money is written in that. Oh,
You want to make an amendment? You want to read the amendment first? Thank you.
it's going to change instead of reading the whole thing all over again. And it's going to start at, and further authorize the expenditure of up to $85,000 as a one-time appropriation from existing lawfully available non-tax funds under the control of the select board. That's what the change would read, and I have it for you. Yes.
Thank you. Starting with the number. Authorize the expenditure.
Yeah, so
Okay.
Just delete.
I know I had to get mine.
Let's see what I'm looking at. Last one.
There it is. No. So that's a little different than this.
No, take those out. You would take those out, you would put that in just that way. Delete it, like the other. You have the contribution fund. So, yeah, you would take out. Yeah, you can see it. So it would say expenditures of up to, right? And instead of this,
Okay.
you're gonna take that out and it's just gonna say as a one-time appropriation from existing lawfully available non-tax funds under the control of the select board. And then it goes back to 4, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. Leave it there.
Yeah. I think the one you're talking about, Charlotte said they did have. Since they're talking about.
Can you see it?
It's the next big one. Yeah.
I think they're gonna change it a little bit.
I want to do that.
Oh, do you want to? Yeah. You know what I mean. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I know that one. There's a few. They have to.
Showtime to go.
I can't read it.
You okay? Yeah.
For services disconnected scope.
No, I think we might to that out to be consistent lawfully.
So I'm going to read the whole motion, which includes the amendment. So we're now talking about an amendment to the warrant article. And I too need my glasses. To ensure that town residents have reliable, legally enforceable access to the Nottingham Town Beach for recreational purposes as required by the deed dated October 2nd, 1964, by which the state of New Hampshire conveyed the property to the town of Nottingham, shall the town authorize the select board to take all lawful actions necessary to secure, record, and preserve permanent irrevocable public access to the Nottingham Town Beach, including but not limited to the acquisition of a recorded easement, fee interest, acceptance of a public right-of-way or road, or other irrevocable property interest. And further authorize the expenditure of up to, and this is the part that's a little different, and further authorize the expenditure of up to $85,000 as a one-time appropriation from existing lawfully available non-tax funds under the control of the select board for purposes including but not limited to securing, recording, and preserving such access, and for associated costs, including surveying, appraisal, title examination, recording fees, engineering, legal services, and acquisition costs necessary to accomplish this purpose, provided that no funds authorized under this article shall be used for ongoing staffing, patrol, enforcement, or other recurring operational expenses, and provided further that any funds not expended shall lapse to the originating fund, and provided further that no access arrangement shall rely solely on revocable permission, license, seasonal agreement, or terminable contract. Is there any discussion on this motion?
Got to be seconded.
And the motion has not been seconded, actually. Do I? Yes. Amount. Does this include the intent? Okay, you okay with that? I'm still looking for a second on the motion. What's your name, ma'am? Merrill Dwyer. Seconded the motion. Merrill Dwyer. Maureen made the motion, yes. So a motion has been made and seconded. Made by Maureen and seconded by Merrill. Do I have any discussion on this motion? Does anyone wish to speak to it? On the motion to amend?
I have a question about the wording. Karen Quinn, 26 Tuckaway Shores. Can you tell me what funds are non-taxable under the control of the select board? The only one that I'm aware of is the rec revolving fund. What are the other funds that fit this definition?
Do you want to speak to that or? Okay, thank you.
Karen, you are correct. The select board has the recreation revolving fund, and then the only other one would be the unassigned fund balance.
Okay, all right, thank you.
The unassigned fund balance.
Oh, yeah.
Lincoln Lavoy, 14 Garrier Drive. Just quick question to legal of, does this change the opinion that this is advisory with the wording change?
No, it's not binding. It just authorizes the select board to do that.
I want to, Lauren Campiola, 5 Garrier. This, I don't believe, is a traditional advisory article. It authorizes funding and it directs action. And while the select board retains discretion over timing, it does create a clear voter mandate that requires a good faith effort by the board if this passes.
Hi, Tom Bukevich, Washington Lane. I just had some questions. They were listing off non-tax funds under their control. Would that also include the reserve funds? No, isn't there like I don't know, $1 million or something in a reserve fund?
Unassigned fund balance.
Okay,
That's what
unassigned fund
Ellen-
balance.
yeah.
So how much is in there?
I'd say approximately 11.6 million.
11.6 million?
Right? No, I'm sorry. No. 2 point.
Okay.
It's 11.6% of the operating budget is what it is. I apologize.
That sounds
I had
right.
11.6.
All right.
I was there.
So
Coming there.
sorry. What was the how much is in the fund?
I'm gonna go from 2025. Hold on.
Okay.
We could do a lot of fun things with 11.6 million. So at the end of 2025, it was 2.448 million. $2,448,722.
Okay, about 2.5 million. And then how much is in the revolving fund? I can't hear you. Sorry.
About 250,000, I think.
250,000?
We don't really know.
Okay.
Not that much.
Okay. Well, I'm just asking because, it says zero tax impact, but of course that's the trick that always gets played when you say you're going to spend stuff out of some other fund. It looks like zero tax impact, but of course we know that money is fungible. But I would think spending out of the rec revolving fund would be most appropriate for the select board to choose from this, just because, this is a recreational property. I know the rec department, goes down there and uses it and stuff. Seems the most appropriate source to me. And then I had a second question, if I could ask it, just
Go for
because
it.
he raised this issue about it being. I peeked ahead in your slides and it said something. The lawyer's opinion was that it was advisory only. And that's come up a number of times in the past with a lot of warrant articles, petition warrant articles, where the town just goes, well, we see it as advisory only. So my question for the town attorney would be, what is the language that when we write these types of things, like if I write a warrant article in the future, what language do I have to put in there to make it so it's not advisory only?
Well, that depends on what type of petition warrant article it is. And there are certain requirements and boundaries of like what can be required from a board, and that often makes it advisory if they do not have to act. But this here is authorizing them, encouraging them basically to do so.
Is there a different word that could be used, like instead of authorize? What if it said like authorize and direct? Would that be not advisory then?
That would be the same.
Okay, is there a word that we could potentially add, like to authorize and blank, that would make it not advisory? Yeah, sorry.
This
I
is
would love
another-
to hear the answer to that question sometime.
Hire an attorney.
Just a point of information, Sam Demerit. The other fund that requires something besides the Board of Selectmen is the Conservation Fund, which also has to have the vote of the Conservation Commission in order to spend it.
Thank you. Are you ready to vote? There's a motion on the floor. The motion, the amendment, the motion to amend. So get your voter cards ready. All those in favor of the motion to amend, raise your voter cards. And could I have somebody count these, please? Is Pam still back there? Okay, great. One of you take one side and one the other. 27. Okay. Front's been counted. Yeah. So 33 minus 6. Sounds like 27 and 27. Okay, all those opposed? Correct. Of the wording change in the motion. The motion carries. The amendment 54 to nothing. I didn't see any negative. Oh, sorry. Sorry. Did you get that?
Someone's gonna have to sign up.
In your minutes.
Maureen Campiola, 5 Garia. Autumn, what is the wording then that needs to be put into this warrant article?
Actually, the town attorney is not here to tell you how to write your
No, I know, it's a question.
articles.
I mean, she can't answer it.
She's already been asked the question once.
Yeah,
she
I'm
didn't
just
answer
here
it.
to provide legal advice based on what is proposed.
We have a
So-
difference
Not
of
answer
opinion.
questions
Correct.
about how
Okay.
you can craft it.
Okay.
Dawn Fernald, 66 Fernald Drive. My husband and I are the owners of the property in question. I think a lot of liberties have been taken here about a blurb of history about what was done, what was said. A lot of liberties are taken over a sentence that says required for recreation. That sentence is put in a deed so that the town can't put a complex on that. This issue, I apologize to those who did not realize the history of the town or who owned the property, but it is not new news. It is not a discovery. This issue has come to light because of the bad behavior and the lack of management. It has been a nightmare. My husband waited his entire life to build his home on this property that his family has owned for 300 years. We were shocked at the amount of trespassing that occurred when we moved there. We actually chose the spot that we did to not interfere with the town access because it was our desire to make sure the town always had access to the beach. That is not what this is about. This has been about the fact that we came to the town and said, hey, we're a little startled by the amount of trespassers. What are your expectations for this property? The expectations that were communicated to us is that when the gate is closed, the town beach is closed, and therefore there is no purpose to be on our land. That when the gate is open, the town is welcome to pass through our land to recreate on the beach. They may not go beyond that. Unfortunately, that is not what we encountered. We asked what we could do, what we should do, and we were told we should post our property. We resisted because we like to let you come onto our land. If you treat us with respect, we would like to see you along our property, but that is not what has been occurring. I spent days trying to figure out what to say today, all wasted, because some people are trying to make this about something that it isn't. We are not trying to restrict the access. We are asking you to respect that we want to give you this access. We are asking you to manage this property if you love it so much. To say that there are no issues is ridiculous. Going back into town reports back to 1970 to 1975, all mention lengthy conversations surrounding the town beach. It is these conversations and the will of the townspeople that put up a gate with a giant no trespassing sign and the beach rule signage restricting access to the beach. In the 80s, further guidelines were added for closing and not opening the beach during inclement weather or periods of low usage to save money on beach staffing and keeping residents safe. In 1992, the town sought my in-laws' permission to widen the road at the gate to place a guardhouse so that a gate attendant could help manage the town beach, only to send a letter 1 week later to press pause on the project due to a lack of funding with a "We'll keep this on file and we'll keep you informed as to when the gatehouse will be constructed." 2026, and there's still no gatehouse. Fast forward to the last decade, and issues with vandalism, littering, parking problems, after-hours use, drug and alcohol use, fires, non-resident use, poor maintenance of the access and the beach, low or no staffing, not enough police manpower, beachgoers refusing to adhere to town rules, disrespecting the staff and property, are continually brought to the attention of the Board of Selectmen, Town Management and Budget Committee, and even the Capital Improvement Committee. Even those who have come out to support the town beach have sat in public meetings and confessed to their own repeated transgressions over the years, or regularly seeing others not adhering to the rules. For those who prefer to rely on Facebook as their reputable source of information, do a search on Nottingham Town Facebook pages. You will find several complaints from the townspeople every season about the misuse and poor conditions of the beach and access. It is in these same meetings that the Recreation Department has openly and publicly been asking for support from the town administration and elected officials. Discussions have ensued, ideas have been brought forth, budgets are put together, and then repeatedly little to no action is taken. All of the things have already been thought of: a gatehouse with gate attendant, beach attendants, lifeguards, maintenance people, road maintenance, road improvement, automatic gate, solar panel gate, more staff, more policing, parking ordinances so police can ticket and tow, drug and alcohol ordinance so police can ticket and arrest, security cameras, better signage, better barriers. And now here we all sit in 2026, having spent to little to no tax dollars since the 70s to protect and preserve this asset that you so claim to love. Every time this recreation department has asked you to help manage this beach so even they can feel comfortable using it, you have voted no. Now, this town wants to take the land from the family who has owned, maintained, and who has actually paid the only taxes on this property for 300 years. This town's burden and liability has now fallen on us. We have had to buy signage, post our land, buy, install, and monitor our own security cameras. We have had to call the police regularly and been subject to rude and aggressive encounters on our own property. Then we have to go down and put our name and sign a no trespass orders to trespass our neighbors as the only avenue of remediation offered. Then have those same trespassers harass us, harass our daughters, slander us on social media, and most egregiously, file phony code enforcement and New Hampshire DES complaints against us. All because we have made an attempt to protect ourselves and our land from the very issues that this town has chosen to ignore. Still, for 3 years, we have been the ones coming to the town to ask what we could do to make this better and manageable for all of this. In good faith, we were asked to enter into a written agreement that the town has violated every day that the town beach has been opened. And yet we still have continued to allow access in hopes that next year we can do better. Management plan needs to be put together to ease our burden. We have not been moving the goalpost every season. We have acquiesced every year to allow the town to continue to violate the agreement they committed to.
Dawn. I'm
My
sorry,
time is up.
Your 3 minutes are up. Could you wrap it up quickly? Or
Yes, I will.
give you a sentence or two here?
There have been a lot of things said, and it is unfair. want you to have access to the beach. We simply want to have our land respected, and we want you to respect your own land. We want you to protect your own liability. This is an unchecked liability, not just for us, but for this town as well. And the town also has a responsibility in the interest of the townspeople to protect that.
Yeah, can you turn? That should
Sure.
work. Yep.
Hi, it's Robin Marshall, 189 Old Turnpike Road. I feel bad that Dawn has taken it this way. It's not about taking her property, and I think Maureen did a great job about saying it's not about eminent domain. It's just about having something written that should have been written a long time ago that wasn't, and that I don't think anything here says anything about attendance or anything about the beach. But since Dawn and her family have brought this up, I go to the beach all the time, and I've appreciated and spoken to her personally about allowing us to have access to that beach. But some of the numbers, I think that she gave are very misleading. So I just up here to dispute some of them. So I have been kind of monitoring the situation. Select Board can attest. I come to about everyone and always bring up the town beach. And it's just about all the so-called shenanigans that people say happen at the beach. So every year I go and wondering whether they're going to open the town beach. One year it was delayed a month or so. Didn't get open until June or even July. I think it was July that got open. It was late. So they did hire a beach attendant last year. And when I'm there, I don't see anyone drinking. I don't see anyone smoking. If I do see any trash, it's usually a piece of wrapper. And as me, I bring it out when I go out. I think that's what we all do. We go to the beach and see we trash. It's not like people are dumping things there. And even the incidents that were spoken about, I think a lot of it is after the town beach is closed or off season that people are trespassing. I don't know how the town can help with that. I think that's a homeowner thing with the police that has to get taken care of. I'm only talking to when the beach is open during the season. So the trespassing incidents that were logged by our beach attendant last year, there were 2 young boys, and I happened to go to the beach that day. And the Fernalds did report they were told not to go to the dam. They went anyway. And this was early, this was in May. And what had happened was the police got called by the homeowners, by the Fernalds, and they came, and those 2 boys were banned from the beach for the whole year. So the people that were abusing the beach got punished and they weren't allowed to go. And that's how it should happen. I think the residents that use the beach can attest. I'm sure many of them here, in fact, over the days the beach were monitored, their visitors total just 4 days a week. And June was mostly rainy. So when people say, oh, beach attendant wasn't there, well, it was a rainy day in June. We all know June was a washout. It was 914 people, according to the beach attendant log provided by Ellen, that visited the beach. And how many non-residents of those 900? There were 9 during the whole beach season. Now, granted, Nevaeh went back to school mid-August, so she wasn't there. But of the missing days of her whole shift were 18, but I think half of those had to be due to rain dates where the beach wasn't open. The incident of trespassing that was reported was someone that had come off the lake. A lot of these incidents that happen aren't because people are using the access road to get to the town beach. They're either people on the Pawtuckaway Lake from Pawtuckaway Campground. They're people that are coming off the lake. In fact, the only one dog wasn't turned around at the gate. It was a kayaker from the lake. The person who was drunk that was reported last year was a kayaker that was on the lake, not even on the town beach, that it was reported. So I think it made it seem to me, and that's why I'm here, that those numbers were very inflated. I use the beach. I didn't write how many times I went there, but I don't see any parking issues. I see the signs. In fact, going back to the Board of Selectmen, there's 2 no access signs that were never put up. They were ordered, received, and not put up. So
Your 3 minutes are up.
okay,
Thank you.
so
Thank you.
so I support.
I just want to, Maureen Campiola, 5 Garrier. I just want to remind people that this is about access. The Fernalds have legitimate concerns and issues, but this issue is about access. It's forcing the town to deal with the access issue. And then from there, you have to deal with the rest of it. You have to deal with all the stuff that goes with that. But the first issue is to ensure that we don't lose access to a public resource that belongs to the townspeople.
Thank you.
Madam Moderator. Sorry,
Yes.
table.
Sorry, Owen.
I'd like to make a motion to adjust the budget committee recommendation. I did not report this correctly to the town administrator. The vote should actually have been 2 to 8 to 1. There was one abstention, not 2 to 9.
So not, excuse me. Is the 9 supposed to be first or the 8 supposed to be first?
That I don't have an
2 is.
answer
Okay,
to.
so
I'd like
2 to
the-
8 to 9.
Yes, I'd like the legal to weigh in on
2
that
to 8
because
to
the
1,
not
excuse me.
recommend is confusing me. However, there is one abstention in there as
Got it.
opposed to, so it's not
So-
9 against,
I
8
gotcha.
against with one abstention.
You have it, Lori. So there's a motion to amend the recommendation of the budget committee by 1 vote. Is there a second? Carol Roberts. Owen Friendgren. Carol Roberts Martin or Martin Roberts. I can never remember which comes first. So there's a motion on the floor to amend the vote of the budget committee for this article. Two abstentions? No, two opposed, 8 in favor, and 1 abstention.
No.
Yes,
2 yes.
2 yes, thank
8
you.
no.
8 no's and 1 abstention. So the budget committee predominantly did not recommend.
Correct.
Okay. We're just changing the number a little bit and that now that has to be voted on if anybody doesn't have any large discussion about this motion to amend. Get out your voter cards. All those in favor of the amendment, please raise your voter card. Okay, those opposed? The motion carried. Thank you, Owen. So. We're still discussing, yes. Ma'am, please state your name and address.
Kathleen Costello, 6 Robin Hood Drive.
Thank you.
I
You have 3 minutes.
I just have a question because I'm
Okay.
confused. The word acquisition of a recorded easement, does that mean we're taking away the Fernald's property from them? Acquisition means to acquire. How is
I
that
mean-
not taking away something? That word, I'm just
I mean,
curious.
everything, I suppose, is debatable. But it is my understanding that this article would authorize the selectmen to resolve the issue in any legal, sane, reasonable way.
Yeah.
So does
but-
that mean they would take land? Not necessarily,
But that's a possibility
I suppose,
because it says acquire.
because it doesn't say how or what they are to do.
Right.
It's leaving it up to them to negotiate this problem.
But if they don't want to sell it, then it's still taking away.
To take away, they would have to be another vote of the town.
To
Isn't that
take
correct?
away,
To take by eminent domain with the town. It's a whole different thing.
This is just authorizing them to pursue any of that, but they don't have to act.
okay, cool.
Should have known this one's like. So.
So Lincoln Lavoie, 14 Gary Drive. First, I want to recognize that like the beach for the town folks and myself included, it's definitely a value asset to the town. Like, and I wholly appreciate that and the access that we have to it. Overall, you know, budget committee discussed this, and this is part of why we recommended the budget we did that includes funds allocated towards trying to better staff the gate and supervision of the beach, essentially with the understanding that the select board was going to work through and negotiate with the property owners to be able to continue to support this resource that we have in the town and stuff like that. And I'm kind of disheartened by some of my fellow town folks' comments here. And the level of antagonistic it seems towards the property owners, which is not going to help those negotiations that the select board has to do with the property owners. And I wanted to say that because like I really feel like some damage has been done in terms of being able to secure that access. And I really hope that in the future we're going to be able to continue to enjoy that access.
Thank you. Dawn.
Dawn Fernald, 66 Fernald Drive. Yeah, I want to echo what was just said, actually. I do find it offensive for someone who occasionally visits the beach to insinuate that we are being dishonest. The trespassing has gone down tremendously because we monitor our property. That is what we are asking you to do instead. So this needing to do it by force when we have willingly been doing it is aggressive. We consider this hostile. If this passes, we consider this a hostile action against us, and you will force us to take hostile action in response, which we do not want to do. We love the town beach. We want to keep it open. We want to work with the town to keep doing this. This literally says that that the Board of Selectmen can no longer work with us on terminable contracts. I don't know if you all think we enjoy the public lynching that has occurred every season. We do not want to do this every season. We want the town to manage it, to get it right, and then hopefully this will just become a natural thing. I would like to understand how people think that if the town has a right of way, a legal right of way, that they suddenly will magically manage it better. Obviously, we are not keen to giving you a legal right of way when you have proven to us that you will not manage or protect not just our property, but your own. So I find that interesting. This $85,000 is also a joke. It says, tell me you've never paid an appraiser, a surveyor, an engineer, or a lawyer without saying it, because that's not even going to touch the amount. Again, we are happy to continue working with the town. This was unnecessary and it is hostile. We've seen the things you've written and said about us, so pretending that it hasn't been hostile is a lie.
Marguerite Tucker, $32 Dam. And I also agree that the $85,000 is probably not a realistic estimate for all of those things that you'll need to have done to do this. I also query, why haven't we ever put our own surveillance on the town beach? Though it's not on somebody else, it's on us. It's our property. We should have some type of surveillance up there. And especially if it's an issue. If you have people drinking and drowning, what does that reflect on the beach? You know, do we have liability for that?
Sorry, Robin Marshall again, 189 Old Turnpike Road. I'm not saying that John is lying. I'm just saying some of the facts seem inflated. Nobody's drowning at the beach, for instance. That's just ridiculous. In fact, there was one. So the whole gate attendant versus beach attendant, there was this boy reported to Ellen that was pulled from the water because there was a beach attendant. The gate attendant is basically allowing residents versus non-residents. That stretch, if anyone hasn't been there, is quite a ways to get to the town beach. You'd have to have everyone like every 25 feet to keep someone off their property. I feel bad for the Fernalds. I don't do Facebook for the perfect of what she's saying. I'm not on Facebook downing anyone. I'm not even downing the Fernalds personally or attacking. I just think that there needs to be something. The select board, I'm sorry, kind of has failed. I think the town has failed, but I don't think a gate attendant is going to stop trespassing when the only trespassers were either coming from the lake or coming from the dam onto their property. I don't know. They have the cameras. They see other things that I don't, but I don't think the gate attendant is going to help in that situation. I think it's better to have at least one beach attendant. So that's just, it's not a personal attack. I'm just stating the facts that I saw last year and this year. I'm not inflating. I'm not on Facebook. I don't slam anyone. It's not my character.
Okay, thank you.
So
Anyone else?
Peter Warsnick, 69 Shore Drive. Pawtuckaway Lake is a beautiful lake. When I moved there, it was after years of camping on a lake. When I look around at the area of Question the Town Beach, when I just put up the map of where the milfoil is and seeing how infested that area is, maybe we should be looking at a different avenue for the residents of the town of Nottingham to have access to this lake. Maybe working out some kind of agreement with the state park to have access to the town beach, to the state park beach for anybody that has a sticker on their car from Nottingham. Maybe we should be looking at that avenue. Maybe it'll cost less than $85,000. This is a very hot topic. It's a very emotional topic for those involved. No one wants anybody to take anybody's property. That's terrible, having your own property taken away from you. But having your neighbors abuse the property is not right either. We have to level the temperature a little bit. Let's look into having the state park, having access to the state park beach so that all the residents of the town can use the park.
Thank you. Shelley.
Shelley Tennis, 17 Robin Hood Drive. I just like to say, I really feel that the board needs to take this over. It is not up to the rec department. This was thrown on their laps. It's not up to them to get 4 employees to man the gate. We can't even get lifeguards so that the kids can go down there. So when we have summer camp, the kids don't go down there. They should be able to go down there. They should be able to have swim lessons like my kids did when they went to summer camp here. They should be able to have those kids go down there. No, what do? We have the fire department, which is fun, come and spray the kids, but that's fun. But they should still be able to access and go down there, and they can't. So you're expecting them to take money out of their funds to pay for 4 employees, and they can't even get lifeguards to have the kids go down there and have fun during the summer. I just feel that it's something that the board should look at, the board should take responsibility for, and not the rec department.
Thank you, Shelley.
Donna Danis, 24 Russell Road. I would like to make a motion that we move the question to the ballot.
Thank you. There's a
Second.
motion. Is there a second to Donna's motion?
Second.
D. Decker in the back was the first one I saw. All those in favor of moving the question to the ballot, please raise your voter card. Those opposed? The motion carried. This article will now move to the ballot as amended.
40:10.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is that Owen?
Yep.
I can't see whose arm it was.
No
attached
worries.
to.
It is.
It's either you or Steve. Owen Friend Gray seconded. So all those in favor of invoking 40:10, please raise your voter card. Those opposed? The motion carried.
Thank you.
Almost got out of here.
Thank you all for attending session 1 of our annual business meeting. Pending no further? Or do you want to end the meeting?
No. I just had one thing. Thomas McGivich, Washington Lane.
Yeah.
I would just like to publicly commend the new leadership and all the employees at the recycling center. It is just a totally new experience. It is wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other announcements? News you'd like to share? Oh,
Move to close the meeting. How about that for an announcement?
I will see you all the second session, I hope, of the annual town meeting on March 10th. If you could please fold and stack your chairs on the way out, it would be appreciated. Thank you, Owen, for the motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? All those in favor? Aye. Thank you.